Oh well.
Peter Green, the founder of Fleetwood Mac, was celebrated for his emotive phrasing and haunting tone. Unlike many guitarists who relied on speed or technical fireworks, Green focused on feel. His iconic songs, like Albatross and Black Magic Woman, showcased his ability to channel vulnerability, melancholy, and spirituality through the guitar. His playing was deeply rooted in traditional blues, but he infused it with a mystical, almost ethereal quality that set him apart. Eric Clapton himself once admitted that Green had the sweetest tone of all the British blues players. On the other hand, Mick Taylor, best known for his tenure with the Rolling Stones, brought a more fluid, technically refined style. Taylor was heavily influenced by blues but leaned toward a lyrical, almost jazz-like articulation. His slide guitar work and improvisational skills elevated Stones, albums like Sticky Fingers and Exile on Main Street. Songs such as Sway and Can't You Hear Me Knocking bear his signature smooth, fiery solos that blended elegance with power. Taylor was less mystical than Green, but more versatile, capable of stretching beyond strict blues into rock and fusion territory. In terms of career trajectory, Green's brilliance was tragically brief. Mental health struggles and drug use forced him to leave Fleetwood Mac in 1970, cutting short what could have been an even greater legacy. Taylor conversely sustained a longer high-profile career, especially during the Stones' peak years, though some argue he never fully captured the same emotional depth that Green poured into his guitar. Popularity. Peter Green, the founder of Fleetwood Mac, achieved prominence earlier. By the late 1960s, he was already recognized as one of the finest guitarists of his generation, praised even by B.B. King, who once remarked that Green had the sweetest tone he had ever heard. Green's compositions like Albatross, Black Magic Woman, and Man of the World gave Fleetwood Mac chart success and positioned him as a visionary figure in British blues. His fame in that period was immense within the blues and rock communities, and his tragic withdrawal from the spotlight due to mental health struggles only deepened the mystique around him. While his mainstream visibility declined in the 1970s and 1980s, his influence continued to grow, with guitarists like Gary Moore and Carlos Santana citing him as a major inspiration. Mick Taylor, on the other hand, became famous as a member of the Rolling Stones during their so-called golden era, from 1969 to 1974. Joining at just 20 years old, he contributed to landmark albums such as Sticky Fingers and Exile on Main Street, bringing a fluid, melodic style that helped shape the Stones sound. Taylor's fame was more tied to his role in the Stones than to his individual identity. He was respected and admired by musicians and fans alike, but he did not establish the same singular brand as Peter Green. After leaving the Stones, Taylor pursued solo work and collaborations, but he never reached the same level of recognition on his own. In terms of lasting fame, Peter Green is often remembered as a tragic genius, a cult icon whose early brilliance left a permanent mark on rock history. Mick Taylor is remembered as a key part of the Rolling Stones' greatest era, but his fame remains overshadowed by Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, and the band's larger-than-life reputation. Guitar skills. Peter Green was a guitarist who prioritized emotion over technical flash. His playing was deeply rooted in the blues, with a haunting, almost spiritual quality. Green's touch on the guitar was subtle yet powerful. He often used minimal notes to convey maximum feeling. His phrasing was deliberate and soulful, and his use of sustain and vibrato set him apart. Songs like Albatross and Need Your Love So Bad highlight his ability to craft melodies that linger in the listener's memory long after the music ends. Green's tone, partly shaped by his famous out-of-phase Les Paul sound, was warm, mournful, and instantly recognizable. What truly defined him was his ability to channel raw emotion, joy, sadness, longing through simple and heartfelt playing. On the other hand, Mick Taylor was a more technically versatile guitarist. Taylor's style blended blues with rock and jazz elements, making his playing fluid, lyrical, and improvisational. His ability to weave intricate solos with melodic sophistication added a new dimension to the Stones' music during the late 1960s and early 1970s. Tracks like Time Waits for No One and live performances of Midnight Rambler showcase his skill in building extended, dynamic solos that evolved with the music. Taylor was a master of slide guitar, and his precise bends and fast runs demonstrated a higher degree of technical dexterity compared to Green. In terms of comparison, Peter Green excelled in emotional expression and simplicity. His greatness lay in saying more with less. His playing touched the heart directly, resonating with raw humanity. Mick Taylor was a more polished stylist, capable of improvising at length while maintaining melodic coherence. Taylor's adaptability made him a perfect fit for the Stones' evolving sound, while Green's introspective blues defined Fleetwood Mac's early identity. Mischief. Peter Green was often described as a restless spirit. In the late 1960s, at the height of the band's success, Green grew increasingly disillusioned with fame and wealth. Instead of embracing stardom, he pushed against it, demanding that the band donate more of their money to charity and warning of the dangers of excess. But his rebelliousness didn't stop there. Green's mischief often emerged in unpredictable ways, walking off tours, challenging music executives, or losing himself in psychedelic experiments that blurred the line between exploration and self-destruction. For many, his mischief wasn't playful. It was existential, a deliberate attempt to tear down the structures around him. Mick Taylor, on the other hand, entered the Rolling Stones in 1969 as the replacement for Brian Jones. Taylor was younger, polished, and technically brilliant. To fans and critics, he seemed the responsible foil to Keith Richards' chaos. Yet even Taylor wasn't immune to rock and roll indulgences. His mischief leaned more toward backstage antics, substance use, and the occasional defiance of band expectations. Taylor's reserved image masked the reality that he often struggled with the pressures of being in the Stones' volatile environment. Unlike Green's open rebellion, Taylor's acts of resistance were quieter, walking away from the Stones at the peak of their success in 1974, frustrated by the lack of credit and the suffocating atmosphere. What makes the contrast fascinating is how their forms of mischief shaped their legacies. Green's rebellion against fame and his descent into instability turned him into a tragic figure, a genius who rejected the very machine that celebrated him. Taylor, meanwhile, left behind whispers of what could have been, his brilliance often overshadowed by his decision to step away.